everybody. Of course, I'm your boy LJ Brown. You know I got my girl with me, Dr. Keach, and we are back with the entire family. So welcome once again to the Church Redefined. Listen, we had so much fun last week that we had to just, run it back and just do it again. We were sitting here, we couldn't stop. And so we're gonna get right into it. And we was talking about last week, we were just going down memory lane, and then we kind of got off and we were just, kind of just talking and having a good time, and just, things came up, in the past about, different activities. We was talking about OSS and our summer program. We was talking about the bus rides we used to have to the other churches.
Choir anniversaries
and how the choir used to step and march and coming down the aisle. I mean, we were just going down memory lane and had so much to say. And but what we felt like was we didn't give a good progression exactly going down the timeline. We started at 860, and then we kind of lumped everything together. So they kind of took y'all about how they met in the mall and that sort of thing, and they met and married 6 months, and then 3 months later after that, Bishop was called to Mount Lebanon to be pastor, and then we started from there, and I was telling them how I just loved OSS and how I felt as a kid. 860 was just kind of my golden years. I feel like it was just the best time that I ever had in life growing up. And so Kimberly agreed, but we kind of wanted to go so that we kind of stopped at the 860 point before we jumped forward. So after 860, for some people don't know who may be watching, we kind of outgrew 860, and then we went into the school, which was Deep Creek
Middle,
intermediate or middle, elementary, something like that.
I played basketball. Deep Creek Middle.
Yeah, and so
Sam Warren was the principal. Just to shout out to Sam Warren. Mm-hmm. He was the star quarterback at IC Norcom when I was in high school. But by the time I came to Mount Lebanon, he was, I think, the assistant principal at Deep Creek Middle. Now he's a pastor.
Okay.
Yeah, so just wanted to shout him out.
Man, so and Bishop, man, when we was in the school, we with the sites and stuff all the time, we don't start always, go into the building. We always, we in the movie theater first or the school. So tell them, Bishop, like how your experience was when you was in the school. We having to set up and break down and
I mean, we would help. We would help because
well, you and I, though, Bishop, man. I mean, so we definitely helped because we used to go. Remember, because we was doing the drum. We used to go to church, get the van.
We would bring the drums in our Dodge Caravan, our truck. So every Sunday we would pull up. We'd had to get to church early enough because you played the drums to take the drums out. So I got to get my mind ready to preach. But I'm out there lugging drums in, minister music, Curtis Johnson would be. We pulling wires and all of this kind of stuff. I mean, and maybe this is a piece for pastors. I was gonna say that, everybody looks at us year 30. But I was telling them the other day, because we just renovated the 884 location. Right. So I was talking to the new sound guy. Coda Sound, good commercial for him. Coda Sound, and then we got a line of rays hanging from the ceiling, and he was talking about the old system that he took out. Right. He said, and he asked me, he said, man, who installed your old system? And I said, man, you're looking at the person that installed the old system. He like, no, Bishop. I said, me and our minister of music, Curtis Johnson, put the speakers together in our living room in Fernwood Farms, loaded them up in the back of the truck. God had to keep us because we couldn't even afford lifts and all of that. So we carried those speakers up to the top of the ceiling on ladders.
Babies and who?
Huh? What's that?
Nothing.
We said
babies and fools, because we literally carried the speakers up on a ladder. He's on one side of the ladder, I'm on another side of the ladder, and we hung the speakers in the ceiling. We crawled through the attic and pulled the wires for the sound booth under the pulpit. We crawled under the pulpit and hooked up all of that monitors and all this stuff that we have now. We did that ourselves.
I remember. I remember, Bishop.
We couldn't afford. I mean, we went to
and so that was coming,
Guitar Center.
And so that was coming out of Deep Creek going
into a new building.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, this is what I remember. Elder wasn't doing any finances then yet. And by the time we went in the building, I'll never, ever forget. The mortgage payment was $13,000 a month. I remember the mortgage payment. And when we went in the building, the first year, when our first mortgage payment was due, it snowed the first Sunday of that month. And then it snowed the first Sunday of the next month, and we didn't have church 2 first Sundays in a row. We had about $25,000 left in the whole church account. and our mortgage payment is $13,000 a month. And God just kept us. Wow. I mean, you're talking about God. God kept us.
Literally. And so that's coming. We was in 860, which is the original amount. And then we kind of went into the school for a little while. And then once we got ourselves together, we stayed
in the school for what, 2 years? Yeah, we were in the school.
I mean, we used to have. We used to also do like we were in the school when we were in the school. We still had Sunday school.
Yep.
So and because in the school I guess you rent by the room, and so we only had the auditorium. But I guess maybe I'm telling on us, but
we had to hook up.
We used because we were coach. He was my coach for JV. Kelvin, never mind. I don't want to get him in trouble. So
the custodial staff was kind.
God favored us. But we would have to have we would have to have like we would have to share space, so you would have to kind of be quiet in your Sunday school class because like 4 rows over was another class. Right. I mean, so that's what I remember. And then after service, I guess I remember because the adults would be breaking down, kids would be in the gym
and y'all shooting hoops in the gym and running around in your church
I guess we got access to that room too.
Up the speakers
we had access to the teachers' lounge. We used to go in there and mess with the vending machine. These kids are
y'all remember
bad.
We had the game in there?
Yeah. You remember that? You don't remember that. Women's Day. You remember Women's Day when the women in the church. This is hilarious. The women in the church challenged the men in the church to a basketball game. The
men and the women played the game.
And the men had been talking big trash. The women went out. They were so out of the order of the kingdom. The women went out and got these girls from Norfolk State's basketball team to be on their team and all that. But here's what was so funny. I know she dying to say this. So the first time coming down the floor, here come Elder coming down.
Yeah.
I went down and hit a 3.
That's correct.
Okay. Hit a 3, baby. I was holding my hand like that and everything. And the men was pumped.
Did you get back on D?
No, I don't play no D.
Monica.
And then
Monica.
Then the elder gonna come back down with the women, and they like shoot. They won't elder. Then they like shoot the ball, first lady, shoot the ball. She got behind the 3-point line, and she got that ugly shot. She threw that thing up, and angels had to come down from heaven or somewhere. Cause it was like the angels grabbed the ball, and it went all net. Right. I'm like,
they went crazy.
They went.
We need a redo. I missed that.
We raised some money for Women's Day that year because the gym at Deep Creek Middle was packed. I think we sold tickets for like $5. Them women came up in there, boy. It was packed in there.
I remember.
Yeah, you think back, and I think this is good for just pastors once again that'll see us now, and they want to get to year 30 after 3 months. Right. No, you don't get here after 3 months. I'm not saying God is not capable of doing that and all of that, but you need to hear the real story. That's why even now people are asking, how in the world is he so excited about preaching to empty chairs? Right. I have not always preached to this. So I have not forgotten doing Bible study with 3 people. Right. So, I think it's real important for years. For years.
And even in life in general, I mean, some of our viewers are watching who may not have this specific story, but just the progression of life to get where God has you, that it's not going to just happen overnight.
Life overnight. I'm not even sure, and y'all can answer to it, but I'm not even sure when you're going through it, you're not going through it thinking this is it. Or you just kind of doing what you got to do.
Right. I think that's the other thing that Elder and I have learned about this journey, whether it's in marriage, because I can't tell you. I know we had dreams. I'm not going to say that. Right. But when we got married, we didn't have this season wasn't a part of our dream. Right. We didn't have the capacity to dream for that. Right. But we knew we were not going to stay where we are.
You knew there was more for you.
So even with the church, people I think sometimes that it was our desire to always build this. Right. I can honestly say it was our desire to simply be faithful. Yeah. And I want to say this for young pastors too. And I don't want to get us off a family conversation. But the reality is, pastors need to ask me about how do you get here? You get here by putting Mother Laura Eason and Sister May Little in your car, picking them up at 12 o'clock on every Tuesday at their house and taking them as a prayer band to visit the sick and the shut in. Yeah. And I still remember me and Sister Mother Laura Easton going into people's houses in the middle of the day, and we would pull up and she said, Pastor, I'll read the scripture and you pray. See, nobody, I'm not going to say the saints don't remember that, but the pastors don't see those days. I didn't go. Beneficial. Absolutely. Right. That was days when God was honing my skill. There were days when Mother Laura Easton would say stuff to me that she needed to be able to say to the young preacher, but not in a church meeting or in front of everybody else, but just one-on-one. Yeah. You know, you're doing too many revivals now. You know, you're dragging us everywhere. She would have a platform, and she was right. Yeah. I was doing too many revivals. I was dragging us everywhere because in the back of my mind, I am trying to pursue the big church, not knowing, and I want to say this, big church might be in the heart of a little church's people if you'll be faithful. Now, that was good right there. Good. But you so busy trying to go after the big church. Big church might be in the heart of the little church that you're pastoring if you'll be faithful. Yeah,
yeah. That's real good. And so I think we at 8. We kind of still vacillating between 860 and 884. And so if y'all remember when we went into 884, we marched. Y'all remember we marched from down the street.
And watch this. Yeah, we marched down Belleville Road. I'm gonna mess y'all up though. I bet y'all don't remember who led the procession.
I do.
Yeah, who? He gonna get me. I'm forgetting his
Reverend
name.
Mr. Locker.
No.
The guy.
Diddy boy that plays golf with me.
He led it.
George.
I was gonna say Rob.
Rob marched in with me, an elder. He marched beside us.
Okay.
But the person, if you ever get to see the video, the person that's in the front of the line, that's walking down Bells Mill Road, is George Diddy Boy Lawrence, because Third Baptist Church came to help us dedicate the building that day. Yes, and he was the president of the ushers, and so he led the procession down Bells Mill Road, my golf buddy.
Wow. Yep.
Because he still talks about that today. When we'll be playing golf sometime, he like, man, never forget, I led y'all down the street. You know, it was just, and I think that was just another piece that was real neat to see somebody that was raised up with you, that knew the journey you had gone through. I think that was a great source of pride for him.
I think a lot of people don't know that you even, I'm sorry, Kimberly, that you came out of Third Baptist.
Absolutely.
And so, again, that was a traditional Baptist setting. But Joe B. Fleming licensed you and taught you, I guess, what they say, everything you knew from the early stages.
I'm telling you right now, you see me sitting on the stage right now. Yeah. And the way I'm sitting on the stage right now, Joe Fleming taught me that when he licensed me. Because I'll never forget the first time I went somewhere and I had the privilege of sitting in the pulpit, all the other pastors, you know, would sit in the pulpit like this. And so I went up on the pulpit, and I'm sitting on the pulpit like this too, you know, because I'm trying to be all pastoral. You know, I'm a little young guy, just started preaching. All the other pastors sitting up there, so I'm sitting up there, Doc, hey, Doc, how you doing, Doc? You know, all this kind of stuff. And when we got in the car, and I was driving Pastor Fleming, you know, I was like, and we ain't know nothing about armor bearer, but I was driving, and when we got in the car, he said, son, when you sit in the pulpit, you keep your feet flat on the floor. He said, the people don't want to see the bottom of your sole of your shoe. He said, my sons sit in the pulpit with their feet on the floor. And I'm telling you right now, I'll be at a funeral year 30 into ministry, or I'll be in a pastoral setting and everybody else be sitting up there like that. I sit just like, he said, your feet on the floor, your hands on your knees. You got to remember, everybody in there is watching you, and you establishing a standard for the ministry. So you're right. There's a lot of things. You know what people probably don't know here in Chesapeake, that you were a product, since you went there with my home church, that you were a product of First Baptist Crestwood. They probably don't know that. Absolutely. And back in the day, and you know, I ain't trying to talk for her church, but back in the day, they had the finest, I'm talking about the dressingest first lady. I ain't saying fine in no negative way.
Reverend Finner was
First Lady Finner, and Pastor Finner. Boy, they were like for us, in our generation, they were Jay-Z and Beyonce. I mean, when she would walk in, you just like, that's First Lady.
And you know how women will wear perfume and they go by you and
that would be her.
That was her. And
you just knew she was at another level.
You can remember the smell. You'd be like,
we was trying to stay on
task. First Baptist Crestwood was like what you say 860 was.
Yeah.
All
the young people went there.
And we had our summer camps and we had our field trips and all that. So that was definitely a great
I just remember that Pastor Fenner could preach. And First Lady Fenner, when she would come in and sit on that second row, you'd be like, that's the First Lady right there.
So I don't want to hijack the conversation, but I'm going to hijack the conversation. Because I know LJ and Keisha, Seminala, Pastor, Doctor, LJ and Keisha wanted, to kind of get us through the progression. And so we've talked about the school, and I think the school, so what I want to say is it's amazing. I'm sitting here thinking about, I think our church began to shift when we got out of 860. Yes. And I think it's funny that we're talking about that and we're trying to walk y'all through the progression of the history of the church, because I think right now, and it's not even just our church, it's the whole world is in another shift.
Where they got us out.
We are in a whole, coronavirus is causing us a shift. And so I think it's, but I think,
go ahead and tune up, girl.
So, no.
60 and going into the school.
Right, it got us out of our comfort zone. Out of the tradition. Everything had to change. Right. And I think, again, we're in that same position currently. And so I think, trying to get us from 860, keep the conversation going, but even, linking it to where we are now.
Right now.
That's true. So,
wow, that's good.
And I like that question because it brings me to what my next question was going to be. Because I don't think, if I remember correctly, we didn't really have staff at 860, correct? We didn't have staff until we got to 884.
Yes, we did. No, we had staff. Y'all see, y'all don't forget. Youth pastor.
Okay.
Let me just run it down.
He was all of them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We had a congregational care pastor. Congregational care pastor was Kim Brown.
In one person.
Congregational care pastor was Kim Brown. Worship leader was Kim Brown.
Who's the sound man?
Sound man was Kim Brown.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because that's true. Because the amplifier was under the pulpit. I'd be preaching, boy, and that was before we had technology like we have now. We had cassette tapes, and I remember we didn't have automatic reverse. Then the second level of cassette tapes was it would reverse itself, but we didn't have automatic reverse. I'd be up there preaching, hooping, boy, bro. Peter Man be on the organ. I'd be pulling it. He'd be putting me in my key, and then the tape would click, and I say, "Ain't he all right? Won't he do it? Yes, he will." And I'd be down. I'd be flipping the tape.
So that was at 884?
That was at 84.
860.
And 860. We would do the labels in our house for the
Bishop was nice.
Yeah. He was sweet. Nice. He was sweet with it.
You can preach like that and
flip.
Because you had to hit stop, open it, and you had to, flip it,
so we had a staff.
And hit play and record.
I built the deck
at
on
the
church.
time.
And play at the same time while you preaching.
You had to hit both buttons, play and record.
He practiced that.
That takes talent.
So they are at 860.
We go to 884.
Okay.
So when did the real staff come in? That's my question.
Yeah, 884.
True staff was 884.
It has to be 884.
Yeah.
Right?
It wasn't when we first got in there though.
It was 884. No, 884. We still only had the pastor. We had the secretary. You had.
I had a youth minister.
Yeah, youth minister.
If you're talking about full-time staff, we didn't have full-time staff.
Initially, but then like later as I grew older, because we had full-time pastor. I don't know if he was considered full-time because Uncle James, JP.
Okay, now you're thinking about phases 2 and 3.
But it's still
he ended up being
considered
full-time. But he wasn't getting full-time compensation. But he was full-time.
I was thinking about when we first got to 884.
Let's not be technical, guys.
Yeah, I said eventually.
This is one thing about our
it was still the 884 building.
Let's not be technical.
884 is where we transitioned to staff.
Yeah, they grew. Yeah,
right.
We did.
Absolutely. In 884. That's exactly
and so I agree, though, with 884, there was a lot of growth right there
happening. Do you remember, LJ, do you remember Missy coming?
Yes, I do
to
remember.
New Year's Eve church.
Bishop forgot about that. Look, you forgot about that.
We electric slid at the altar.
White, what was it? Like a white? I want to say it was a white Bentley or something.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I remember.
But
like a white.
Yeah, she just wanted to come.
Missy Misdemeanor Elliott knew about the mount.
Came to the mount.
She's from Portsmouth. If you happen to be watching, we'd love
Who else we had at the mount? We had
Missy
at the mount. We had
President
Barack Obama.
Yes,
we did have him.
Who else?
We had Miss Cicely. We had Miss Cicely Tyson.
Cicely Tyson has been there.
Had at the mount.
We didn't take pictures of them. Yeah, we got pictures of Barack Obama because I was ghetto that day. I asked him to sign his book.
That came with President Barack.
Hill Harper
came.
Yep, Hill Harper came. Man, I had forgotten about that. Yeah, we've had some people come through.
The mount. Y'all ain't know that.
Secret Service called me though when at that time it was just Senator Barack Obama, and Secret Service called and said, "This is Secret Service. The senator is contemplating worshiping with y'all."
I thought awesome.
I thought it was Nephew Tommy. I'm like, man, go ahead, Nephew Tommy. Man, you trying to punk me?
So look. Now, we've gone from 860, we've gone to the school, we've gone to 884, and again, 884 can be, a whole conversation in its own. Cause like I said, a lot of growth took place in 884, and then with different transitions we built, we had the gym, different things. There's been a lot of phases in 884, a lot of growth took place in 884, which then pushed us into 215, Las Gaviotas, which is the cathedral, which is what everyone knows as the cathedral. So here we are now.
Yeah.
30 years from original 860. We used to run around in the front of the church and just have a good time. So here's a question though. We're talking about all the phases, Bishop, Elder. We're talking about all the phases, and I know now we got sites and site passes and that sort of thing. So we looked at all the phases and all the transitions. Is this the last transition or phase or building that you see yourself? You didn't have 860, you got the original building, you got 884, you got 215 right now. Is this the last phase, the last transition?
Will there be a movie that will come on called The Last Dance? Is this the last dance?
Is this the last dance, Bishop?
I sure hope not.
Kimbo. Kimberly hates when I call her Kimbo, in fact. So I want to call her Kimbo.
And nobody else can call me that.
She hates when I
If you call me that in public, I'm not answering.
Well, I think if you had asked Bishop that question at 860, he would have said yes. If you had asked him at 884, he would say yes. At any stage of 884, he would say, yes, this is it. 215, yes, this is it. So I think probably his answer right now is going to be, yes, this is it. Because he always says God amazes him and pushes him, to go beyond what he thinks he is capable of leading the mount to be. But for me, I'm always ready for the next venture where God has taken us. So for me, I'm saying no. I think there is more for us to do, for the bishop to do. So I'm excited about where this change is shifting us.
She just messed me up with that. I'll give her a prop. She messed me up with he has pulled us out of the church again.
That's correct.
He messed me up because I don't know if you remember this. I'm sure you do. But Carl Richardson, who still comes to this church now, he was a doorkeeper now. He's been the most faithful doorkeeper I've ever seen in my life. Between him and Mr. Waverly, they just they neck and neck.
Years.
It's like I'd rather be a doorkeeper in the house of the Lord. That scripture is about those two. But one Sunday, I don't remember if it was 860 or 884, but I was gonna resign.
884.
I don't know. I just know I came. So
she look like she might have. She don't know.
I was gonna say it's been a couple of times.
This is one, and I don't know if she remembers this, but this is one where I was serious, and I hadn't talked to her. I had written out my letter, and I was going to resign. Okay, and Brother Carl Richardson was ushering, and she gave him a note and said, "Give this note to Pastor." And so I'm in the pulpit, and Carl, he would come to the pulpit and he would go shh, 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 and and that's the way he would do it. And I would look up and he said, "I got a note for you." And I opened the note up and she said, "Don't do something stupid today." Yeah, so you remember that? And so that's why, to answer your question now, I've just learned.
Let God do what God do.
I don't have a clue what God is doing, so just let God do what he's doing.
And I think, too, to that point that, it's important to have the dreamer, the pusher in your relationship to not let you settle. Because, again, in our mind, we'll just say, okay, well, this is it. But then the other person's like, no, there's more, and there has to be more. Yeah. So I think that's the beauty of having that dynamic in your relationship to just push you to really walk in all that God has. So
absolutely, I agree with that 100%, and not to let you do nothing stupid.
Right, right.
I mean, it's just
because it wasn't. You know what? For me, it wasn't so much that she sent the note. Her saying it didn't is not the reason why I didn't resign. Mm-hmm. The fact that I was like, okay, God, whoa. It's like, okay, so
she knew.
I ain't told her nothing about this.
Right.
And you have touched my wife today, because y'all know her well enough. She ain't going to do no stuff like that. She ain't going to play with that. And I'm like, so man, God knew what I was going to, and I know he knew what I was going to do, but I'm like, it just kind of messed me up. Then I'm like, okay, so I know that ain't the will of God.
Right. Well,
so stay tuned. There is more.
Absolutely.
There is
much more. As Bishop always says, since he I'm gonna use his stuff, we out of time, but we ain't out of word.
So that's good, because I stole it from Bishop Hilliard. So you stealing it third time.
So listen, man, I hope y'all enjoyed, man, hearing from the family, man. We definitely had a great time sharing with you guys. We can't get out of here without taking care of very important information. So if you out there and you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, please just right now, just text accept to 71441. If you want to accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior, please right now just text accept to 71441. If you want to rededicate your life to Christ, please text restart to 71441. Again, to rededicate your life to Christ on today, please just text restart to 71441. And last but certainly not least, if you want to become a partner of this amazing fellowship, please just text mount up to 71441. If this is somewhere that you would like to call home, again, please just text mount up to 71441. Again, I hope you all enjoyed it. We can't wait to see you all again. We love you all. And until next time, we'll see y'all soon. You got to be honest in your communication right now. You know, both ways.
Yeah. So I can flip my own switch off and on. I don't need you to flip it for me. I can control how I feel and how I respond based on my ability to go to this book and what the word tells me.
Absolutely.
Flip the switch.
Somebody say flip the switch.